What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are going to go through 10 movies that if you like A Nightmare on Elm Street, you're going to want to check out. Now, I've compiled 10 movies from my collection that are either inspired by A Nightmare on Elm Street, maybe this person felt like they could be the next Freddy Krueger, or maybe these were just completely rip-offs of the classic. All right, with this list I've compiled, some of these are going to be ones that you know, some are going to be ones you haven't seen in a while, and some of these I guarantee are going to be ones you've never heard of. Now again, Nightmare on Elm Street is such a strong movie. The franchise is really strong, but it really has to do with the character Freddy Krueger and the idea of being able to do all these crazy things in dreams. Now, what a great layout for a slasher movie to have dreams, because the rules kind of don't apply at all. Anything can kind of happen here. This is in no particular order, no ranking or anything like that, but this one is one I've talked about plenty of times on the channel. If you know my channel, you know I actually love this movie, and this character was actually supposed to be the next Freddy Krueger of the 90s, according to Wes Craven, and that is Shocker. So from 1989, I believe, Shocker is a real cool movie. It's basically about this guy, Horace Pinker. He's got the death penalty, and he survives, and he starts using electricity to be able to shoot through people's TVs. He can take the souls of other people. I mean, it's a real cool-ass movie. For whatever reason, it just didn't catch on the same way. There was never a sequel. If I had to pick any movie, there's two on this list that I feel should have had sequels, because I would have loved to see what they could have done with this character. All right, the next one is going to be a real kind of obscure one. I don't think many people have probably seen this, and it is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. And you're probably like, wait, what? Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I'm just kidding. This is not Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. This is a movie called Night Killer. And basically it's about this guy. It's a slasher. It's an Italian slasher movie, and it's about this guy who kind of has a very close resemblance to Freddy Krueger. He's got the claw. I mean, he's got a kind of disfigured face, but he's stalking these women. But man, this is a wild movie. This is like part slasher, part giallo, and batshit bonkers crazy of a movie. Very cool. So if you want to think about Claudio Fragasso did this movie. So if that helps you, you think that this is a slasher movie. Nightmare on Elm Street meets Troll 2, right? So that's how bonkers this thing is. But I actually really love this movie. I did a video a while back talking about overlooked movies to add to your spooky season watch list. Night Killer was on there. So this is a Severin Films Blu-ray. I'm not sure if this is still available, but I do highly recommend Night Killer for your Nightmare on Elm Street needs. All right, speaking of another movie that is a very close resemblance to Nightmare on Elm Street in many ways, this is a Vinegar Syndrome release. This is called Hellmaster. Hellmaster is a 1992 film. Now, this stars John Saxon, which already kind of has an Elm Street feel. Basically, it's about a professor. He gets killed, and he comes back to take revenge on these students. There's a lot of dream elements to this. He's got kind of like a Freddy claw, but it's syringes, so it's kind of like, let's get high. It's kind of like that. But there's a lot of cool kills here. The character kind of does resemble Freddy in its own weird way. You can definitely tell this was inspired by Nightmare on Elm Street. But it's one that not many people talk about. I don't know how readily, that's not a good cover, available this is anymore. But it's a Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. And like I said, it's not the greatest. It's a very lower budget type of movie. But man, I really do dig this one a lot. So if you guys can track this down, I'm not sure if it's streaming, but Hellmaster is another one that you guys should check out if you're a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. Now this one's funny because this one came out around the same time as A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it has to do with dreams. This is a movie called Dreamscape. This is a Blu-ray from Scream Factory. Man, this is a creepy-ass movie. It's one of those movies that you feel like everybody should know, but no one ever talks about it. So this has like Dennis Quaid, so it's, you know, it's a pretty big cast. It's a very higher budget movie. But what's wild about this was the main character, the dude from The Warriors. He kind of plays this Snake Man. And it's kind of this character that you see throughout the movie. And as a kid, it scared the shit out of me, this Snake Man character. It's freaky. Even now, it's almost like a weird fever dream watching this movie. But what's funny about this is that Snake character actually appears in the Nightmare on Elm Street poster. So the artists kind of knew that that these movies were happening around the same time. They gave a little homage to it. So if you ever noticed that little snake in the poster of A Nightmare on Elm Street, that's this movie. So it's so wild because, again, they came out like roughly around the same time. So it's like, how did they even know? So it's a crazy backstory, which I wish I knew a little bit more about it. But that snake is on the poster, which, again, Dreamscape is a fantastic movie. I think you guys definitely should check this out. It's different. It's not a slasher type movie, but it's a cool ass movie. Dreamscape is one I highly recommend you guys adding to your spooky season watch list. Now here's another one that really resembles Nightmare on Elm Street to me, and that is a movie called Bad Dreams. Jennifer Rubin's in this, so again, this does feel very Dream Warriors-esque, not just for her, but it involves like these kids, and they're part of this like trauma ward type thing where they're telling their stories. They all come from trauma, and this guy that's kind of almost like this cult leader kind of comes back to start killing these people to get her. Bad Dreams is a cool ass movie. It does have a Blu-ray from Scream Factory, but it's part of a double pack. But this is the old school Anchor Bay DVD. But Bad Dreams is one that I highly recommend you guys checking out. Like I said, it does really have a Dream Warriors type of feel to it. And with Jennifer Rubin in it, it only makes it feel like a lot more Elm Street-esque. So guys, Bad Dreams is one you guys definitely should check out. All right, I don't know how many more times I have to talk about this, but it's probably one of my favorite horror movies of the 90s, and that is Brainscan. Brainscan's another one, too. This was in one way, it was ahead of its time, but at the same time, when you watch it now, it feels so 90s. It was like the early days of the internet. You had this character, Trickster, who kind of came out of the computer, and he was real, but he wasn't. It's a real cool-ass movie. Edward Furlong's in here, and he kind of possesses Edward Furlong to like do these killings and stuff like that, and it's wild. Like, he's going in bodies and outside bodies. This is another one, like I said earlier, that I wish had sequels. This character of Trickster, in my opinion, could have been the Freddy Krueger of the 90s if they would have kept going with this. And there was a lot of deleted scenes where this character actually, there was more to it, right? Like, he could evolve into these creatures, and it was wild. The practical effects they used, that was going to kind of be the big climax of this movie that they ended up not using. At the end of the day, they talk about this. It was like this almost, it felt like The Substance or like Smile 2, the way this ended with like him turning into this big prosthetic monster. But they felt like it looked too fake for the time. So they went back and, you know, at the time, digital effects were really starting to make way. So they were like, oh, let's just do it this way. And I feel it really hurt it in a way. I feel like that climax ending would have been just a cool, you know, evolution to this character, which we don't get. So as much as they thought they were doing a good thing, I'm a huge practical effects guy. I feel like that's the ending I would have wanted. So if you've never seen that, go check out the Scream Factory Blu-ray. They do have the scene. They do talk about that ending that they cut. But Brainscan, no matter what, is a cool-ass movie. Just has a great vibe to it. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. But if you haven't seen it in a long time, definitely go back and give this one a rewatch. All right, this one is an absolute ripoff. This one is one that it's almost like you got to see it to believe it. This came out from Massacre Video. I don't know how easily obtainable this is anymore. But it's called Mahakaal. Look at that guy. Look at that. It's a Hindi horror Nightmare on Elm Street movie. So you got Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a lot of elements to it, almost shot-for-shot elements from a Nightmare on Elm Street in this movie. But then they add their own twist to it. There's like comedy, there's singing, there's dancing, and there's horror. So again, this is a bonkers, batshit, off-the-wall movie that, like I said, it's not great by any means. But it's one of those movies where it's almost like you need to see it to believe it type thing. Because I am one of those people that I had a whole video set up for this, which I may still do. It's been on the kind of back burner for so long. I've got all the material for it, but it's about these movies that came out in other countries that were complete ripoffs of the big horror movies here. There's so many more. But this is the one that I feel is like a complete ripoff of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I said, to a point where it's almost worth watching because it's so crazy that this is a thing. But I have a soft spot for it. I really do. It's not a great movie, but there's something about it to me that I just enjoy. So this is Mahakaal from 1994. So keep it to the 90s. Elm Street was kind of fading out at this point, but people were kind of taking advantage of it. They're trying to create new characters, these new Freddy Krueger type characters that we're going to hopefully get sequels. This was one that I feel like they were trying to create this icon. And there was so many movies throughout the 90s, 2000s, they were trying to create these next horror icons. And this one to me was a big flop. This movie feels like a made-for-TV horror movie you would have seen on like Sci-Fi or something like that. Now, again, I find a lot of these movies kind of charming. These were movies that I would have probably watched as a teenager, like on Up All Night or something like that. And this is Sleepstalker. Look at that guy. Does that not look like Krueger to you? Look at him. Now, this movie is about this guy. His name's the Sandman. It's almost kind of like a supernatural slasher movie, which I think a lot of these are. I think even Elm Street could be considered a supernatural slasher in a way, but Sleepstalker is one of those movies. This character never made it. It was never a sequel, I don't think, to this, but it was something that I feel like they were trying to create a new character that just flopped, in my opinion. But like I said, this feels like a movie I would have seen as a kid. Maybe I rented it at the video store or saw it on TV late night and kind of was like, oh, it's kind of cool, like as I was getting into the genre. But yeah, check out Sleepstalker from 1995. Let me know what you think about this one. Like I said, it's only on DVD as far as I know. I'm sure it probably has a VHS tape or something, but I don't think it's come out since then. But yeah, if you're into trying to find these new like horror icons, these lost horror icons, definitely one you guys should check out. All right, we've got two more left. This one, I think, if you said to somebody, hey, name a movie that's kind of like Elm Street, or was inspired by Elm Street, I think this is one that people would talk about, and this is Wishmaster. This is the whole collection, but I'm talking primarily about the first one. You do get Robert Englund in there, so I think that really does help this cause. And Wishmaster was about, you know, this character who, he was like a supernatural slasher as well, and he granted wishes and did these things and had these cool kills. But the issue I have with Wishmaster, as much as I think that it's a cool concept, the character's cool, it did spawn off a bunch of sequels, it just kind of came out at the wrong time. I feel like this was really during the age of digital effects, and I really do think that hurt this movie a lot, with all this like computer animated effects in this time. It really does make it feel like very lost in that time. Where Elm Street, I feel like no matter what, it's 80s, but it still, to me, like connects. It still works across the board years later, and I think that's what makes it a complete classic. But this one, to me, I feel like Wishmaster kind of hangs around in the 90s, and it kind of sits there. So as much as people love or hate Wishmaster, I appreciate Wishmaster a lot. I'm not the biggest Wishmaster fan, but I do feel like when you're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, and you're talking about these different movies that kind of were inspired by that to check out, I do think Wishmaster is one you should put at the top of the list. All right, now this is my final one, and this one is one of those, it's so bad it's good. I love this movie, but this movie is a mess. So a lot of people are going to be like, this movie is terrible. Now, this is a Spanish movie. It's basically like a Spanish Nightmare on Elm Street, basically. This is a great release put out by Vinegar Syndrome, and it's called Don't Panic. Now, this is a real big resemblance to me to like Elm Street 2. Also, you have this character, Michael, who really feels like a Jesse kind of character to me. And it's his 17th birthday, and they play with a Ouija board, and it unlocks this killer, this demon that not only kills, but possesses Michael as well. So, again, this is a Spanish movie, but it is dubbed, which I think really does help it in a good way, because it is one of those, it's so bad it's good. There's good music in here. Like I said, they have the theme song, Don't Panic. It's just a real 80s kind of feel, and it feels like a lot of those 80s movies, you know, even like teen comedies and stuff, but wrapped up in kind of like a horror backstory or element to it. So there's kills in here, there's comedy in here, but it's so bonkers and weird. Like when you think about this, you're kind of like, the choices that were made here, you know, you have like the main pretty girl with like a unibrow. This main kid, Michael's 17, but he's running around in like little kids' dinosaur pajamas. It's really freaking bonkers and weird. But I have such a ball with this movie. I really, really do. And the main demon and character is a very Freddy-esque. He sounds like Freddy. He doesn't look like Freddy. There's elements to him that they want to make his face a little bit disfigured, but he sounds like him. And it really is like almost that supernatural horror, like I said. He's taken over this kid's body. Don't panic. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I do highly recommend it. If you take a look at the back, you do see that character right there. See how his face is like all burnt? And there's the unibrow main chick, and there's Michael with the gun. Awesome movie, guys. Awesome movie. Again, this is just the kind of shit I love. So, I'm not going to be like, hey, Gone with the Wind is the best movie of all time. I'm going to say Don't Panic is more my style than a lot of these movies that everybody else loves. But I'm going to put this on a rad recommendation. I want you guys to check this thing out. It is just so bonkers. It's fun as hell. Now, guys, that was 10 movies that I think you should check out if you're a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. You're going to either love these or hate these, but I do think all of these are ones you guys definitely should check out, especially if you've never seen them before. So, guys, let me know down below. Two things. Have you seen any of these movies? And if you have, tell me what you think of some of them. And if there's any other movies that you feel like would have fit this top 10, you let me know down below. Maybe I missed something, or maybe I haven't seen something that really could feel very Nightmare on Elm Street. We're on a big Nightmare on Elm Street kick right now. The 4K box set just came out. So I think this is just something that we should add to our watch list after checking all these Elm Streets out once again. But that's why I wanted to do the video. I wanted to introduce some new movies to you guys, especially if you're hyped up from Elm Street. Now, guys, hit that like button, hit that new hype button. That really has been helping the channel out. So hyping the video is really giving it a new audience, which I do appreciate so much. I want to grow this community because when I go live and be able to interact with you guys, that is where I like to see this community growing. So guys, definitely hit that button. If you're checking this out for the first time, subscribe to the channel. Check out all the other videos I've done. Check out the room tour video. I will have an updated one at the end of the year. So that's my most popular video. You guys seem to love it, but you will get an updated room tour towards the end of the year. So definitely stick around. And this is Garrett at Born2beRad. And like always, stay